Hey everyone, so I was at the Articulate Roadshow in Seattle the other week, and I was showing some of my examples from the eLearning Heroes Challenge, and I had a few people come up and ask me about embedding web objects and how to embed a web object so you're not going to a URL outside of your company. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to do that and how to do it so it doesn't look all funky, because when you first embed a web object, you'll notice that it doesn't necessarily look right, and it takes a lot of massaging to try to figure out how to get it to look right. So why would you use a web object in the first place? Like, what is it? So a web object is basically embedding a website into your storyline file. And it doesn't have to look like a website. It could be something like this iPhone like scientific calculator. So say you're doing a course that is math related. You could use the scientific calculator if students needed to use a scientific calculator. And you could embed this inside of your course and also track scores and things like that on top of everything. So that's the plus of it. But you could also put in a website or, a YouTube channel or something like that that you would want in your course. It's just up to you and what your needs are. So the one that I picked today was one that just showed up on top of the jQuery rain search, and this is this fruit slicing game that's made in HTML, CSS, and jQuery. So someone made this game here, and as you can see, it kind of looks like a regular web page, and there's no real educational meaning behind this. It's just to demonstrate how to add this in, especially because it's not just one small object, but it's an actual page itself. So I went ahead and did this already for you guys, but I'm going to go through the steps of doing this. So there's two things that I removed from my version of this, and that's I took out the Comic Sans font because I'm not a huge fan of Comic Sans, and I took out the background because when you embed a web object, the background's not going to come across exactly like this if you have a background on your web object. What's going to happen is it's going to be cut and there's going to be a white border around everything, and that doesn't look so smooth. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got the file here. The most important thing for a web object is you need to have a folder that has all of your source files in it. So my folder here has the index.html file, which is a need. You absolutely positively need this. And what you need this for is because when you go to search for this folder, it won't load your web object unless it has an index.html file or index.htm file. So the first thing is you either need to have your folder with the index.html file from internally if someone had developed it, or you would need it from somewhere online. So if you went to jQuery Rain and downloaded a calculator. And you can go ahead, the other positive about this and not using URL is you can go ahead and actually change some of the code if that's allowed as well. So that's a super positive aspect of this. Now on to development. We're going to open Storyline, and we're going to go ahead and do this without altering any of the actual story size or anything like that. So this is the default size that I have on here. The only thing that I've done is I've removed all the controls and I've made the player transparent. So this is just an example of what this is going to look like. So we've got our stage here, and sometimes it gets a little wonky. You'll see we'll probably run into one of the issues, and if not, I'll bring it up. So you want to go to Insert, Web Object. And what you want to do is, because we want this to seamlessly display in our Storyline project, we want to go and locate the file, and it's going to appear in the slide. So we'll go to the desktop, that's where I have it, and I'm going to grab this folder. And if this had not had that index.html file in it, it would not know where to point to. So this is going to work because of that. I'm going to click OK. All right, so you see it fills the screen, and you can preview it on here, but you're going to notice it's a little bit crazy, and you don't see anything. And no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to view it appropriately because it's going to end up looking like this no matter what. But the thing is, you got to publish it to see what it's actually going to look like. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to publish this, and we'll call it Falling Fruit version 2. So publish, open it, and I'm going to take a look at this. So what happens here is we've got this fruit game here, and there's all these crazy things happening. We don't want it to look like this at all. I mean, you can see it, but this isn't seamless. It doesn't look great. And this is an issue with the player size. So two things that you might want to play around with: the player size and also the web object size. So you can change the web object size, and you can also move it around depending on if you have like maybe just a snippet of a web object versus like a whole entire website that you want to embed. So for this cause, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to leave it where it is, but we're going to adjust the actual size of the story. So the reason being, because I had just mentioned as well, is that this is going to be a full page, and we want it to look like a full page because that's what we're trying to get from this one. So I go to the story size, and then I can alter this. So I have played around with this already, and I know that in order to get it looking a little bit better, we want it to be 1220 by 920. And this does take a little bit of playing around. Hopefully this will look good too. So an issue that I did run into here was that when I had published after I already found the file path, that I was getting some errors when I was trying to actually go and view this. So let's go ahead and republish. It was something weird with how the file structure is, and that was strange. So, and also you'll notice when I go to view this, if you look into your story content, you'll be able to see in the story content folder that there's some web objects folder, and that contains all of your stuff that you had out there. So that's where it's pulling it from. So let's go ahead and publish that again so I can easily find it. Open, and I'm going to go and view that. So now we can see this size looks a lot better. It looks almost very similar to this version here, except the only difference is that we've got a little bit more white space down here, which does not bother me. And then we've also, we don't have this background in here. So something I might do is go ahead and add that background. So another thing is so you can see around it, there's like a little bit of a border. That's something you can also get rid of. So one of the things that I like to do once I have this ready is I like to alter the code a little bit in the published file. So something I might do is go into this story, open this in one of my code text editors, and so, I might go down here and look at some of this. So some things in here you can see, you might want to change this to transparent if it's not already transparent, but this, in our case, this is fine. We've got the default on for browser size, no scale versus show all. So this is looking pretty good. But something that I might do at the top here, you can see the CSS, is I might go back and re-add in that background that I had there. So what you would have to do with that is you would have to copy, paste the background image into here, and then set the background in the CSS on both the story.html file and also the HTML5 version as well. And you can find those easily both in their files in a text editor. So I can show you guys the final product here, and that is my first version, which I did, and you'll notice that it looks almost exactly like the other one. You can see it's still, that was my story part. So if I put them side to side, we've got this fruits one that was done by Anish here, and we've got this one that I embedded in my storyline project. So if I go ahead and start, it acts the exact same way as this version here. And I can also show you that this one works as well. So this is my HTML5 version, and it looks exactly the same and works the same way too. So that's about it for embedding web objects and getting them to look exactly like you would like them to. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.